Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore counties of Middle Tennessee here. This warning is going to go in effect for the next hour until 4:15 p.m. Central Time. And I do want to note that if you notice here in this warning information here, it's for mainly hail and wind, but there's also the possibility of a quick spin up tornado, as it says here on this warning, tornado possible. So since we do have this warning in effect here through about the next hour, we're going to be in live coverage here. So if you know somebody that's in this area across Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin counties, make sure you share this out to them, share this video out. Let's spread the word here and make sure they are aware that severe thunderstorms are moving into their area. So again, what I'm doing is sharing this live feed out right now as we get started. Again, those of you that are in the path of this need to be getting inside. And the good thing here is for those of you, especially out towards Moore, Lincoln, and Franklin counties here that are under this warning through 4:15, is that you have plenty of time to prepare. So you're given about a 30-minute to 1 hour lead time here on seeking shelter from this. So let's look right here into the wind field here on Doppler radar, and they're showing some pretty strong winds in here. Indications are they're blowing at about 50 to 60 miles an hour, and they're moving off to the east here. So this southern end that's moving over Giles County has been strengthening in intensity the past little bit, and this is also part of the same complex that was producing severe thunderstorms over in Lawrenceburg and points west into West Tennessee earlier. So now this is beginning to move into parts of our area. And so, again, for those of you in the northern half of Lincoln County, including Fayetteville, all of Moore County, including Lynchburg, and the northern half of Franklin County, which includes Estill Springs, Deckard, Winchester, Swanee, and Cowan, you need to go inside, get away from windows, and if you can, also seek shelter as well as this line moves in your direction. So, and the reason I have it on this screen here is because I'm going to give some storm tracks here. So the movement on this, and I'm going to read the warning information out to you here. It goes in effect until 4:15. Again, that's 4:15 Central Time, 5:15 Eastern Time. And I'm going to read this information out. At 3:08, a severe thunderstorm was located over Pulaski, moving east at 60 miles an hour. A camera on this storm from Giles County indicated a potential wall cloud, so the tornado possible tag has also been used on this. And that's why this warning here has the tornado possible tag, because there was a report of a wall cloud. Hazard is 60 mile an hour wind gusts and quarter size hail. It's radar indicated. Locations that are in the path of this severe storm include Winchester, Fayetteville, Lynchburg, Deckard, Estill Springs, Petersburg, Cowan, Timms Ford Lake, Swanee, and Howell. So those of you in those communities, you need to be getting inside and getting away from windows here. I wouldn't say take tornado precautions right now, but I think we're getting kind of close here, so we're kind of borderline on that. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens here with this velocity here going forward on the leading edge. Again, if there were to be any kind of like brief spin up that were to occur, it'd be along this leading edge of the line here, especially this front part in here and maybe a little bit up north in there as well. So we'll put a track on this, and again, this is moving east at 40 miles an hour, so I'll put a long range track on this and give you an idea of where this is going next. And here are your estimated times of arrival. So Petersburg, this will be in your area around 3:39. Lynchburg at about 4 o'clock. 4:15 for you folks in Tullahoma. 4:22 in Estill Springs. Winchester around 4:24. Hillsboro around 4:36. Also Swanee around 4:40. Around 4:43 in Pelham. And 4:47 if it holds together in Mott Eagle. Again, now I know Grundy County is technically not in this warning, and neither is Coffee, but it is close enough to where if this thunderstorm holds together, and it's holding together pretty steadily and healthily right now, so it very well could. So that's why I'm giving you that early heads up in case this were to strengthen. So let's update velocity on here and see if we got any kind of spin. So far, I haven't seen any of that, so that's good. That's actually come down a little bit. What I'm seeing, though, are some very strong indications of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. And remember, severe criteria is 58. So this is actually right at severe criteria here, as you see here. So I-65 is where this is crossing over right now. So if you know somebody that may be driving along Interstate 65 and Marshall or Giles County, Tennessee, make sure that, or they're heading that direction, make sure they hold off for right now and let this severe thunderstorm cross over the interstate and get on the other side. So that way you can get through safely. But at the moment, that's the situation there. So this severe thunderstorm is crossing I-65 into the southern end of Marshall County in Tennessee, and this is heading right towards Petersburg. So Petersburg, you're going to be first up to see this. And then it's going to be Belleville and Boonville, and also the north side of Fayetteville there in Lincoln County, as well as Mulberry. And then after that, it'll be Lynchburg's turn to get on this severe thunderstorm with 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, and the possibility of a little bit of hail. Now, the hail doesn't look really too big, and I'll check the VIL on this just to make sure. And not really too impressive here. It's a little bit delayed here, but again, there's also some indications of some hail in this thunderstorm as well. But again, it's mostly small hail, more than likely quarter or below. But again, it's just something that's got to be watched here over the next little bit. So again, that's the current situation, and it's the only warning that we have in our entire area right now. It's this warning here, again, for Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore counties of southern and middle Tennessee. Again, that goes in effect here for the next hour. That goes in effect till 4:15 Central Time. So again, by the end of that polygon time, you can kind of tell the direction it will probably be. As you say right here, here's I-24. So if you know anybody that's traveling or is planning to travel along I-24 here between Kimball and Beech Grove and Coffee County here, just give them a heads up and let them know that there's going to be strong to severe storms crossing over the interstate here within the next couple of hours, and it could impact that drive. So just a little bit of a heads up there for those spots. And we got other strong thunderstorms also up the line that are non-severe, but still pretty intense here, moving across Rutherford County. So Murfreesboro is about to get in on this activity right now in the next few minutes. And then after that, it's going to be an issue for Woodbury as well as Smithville and Center Hill Lake. So heads up in those areas. You got a strong thunderstorm heading your way. Non-severe at the moment, but that's what's heading in your direction. And down across northwest Alabama here, these thunderstorms here are currently non-severe. But again, they could strengthen. So there's a lot of warm air out ahead of this for this to work with. So we'll see if that strengthens as it gets ready to cross I-65 on the Alabama side within the next couple of hours. Again, if those hold together, those will be in places like Jasper, Chattanooga, and other areas also within the next few hours or so. So again, here's the latest radar update. This pink that you see here on the map, moving over Cornersville and Archer up in here in southern Marshall County. This is actually an indication of hail. I guess not very large hail, but there could be some penny, nickel, maybe a few quarters mixed up in here. So not very large hail, but enough that it'll be very noisy. And again, the wind, though, the wind is the major thing here. So the main threat, though, is going to be this, and it's a straight west to east wind that's punching from west to east. So all this green you see here, that's moving due east toward our area and toward the radar site. Red's going away. So this is really, as I said, one west to east wind, straight line, moving into these areas. And that can knock down trees, can knock down power lines. So it's just something we got to watch here over the next little bit here. So again, we have one warning that's in place. Again, that's for Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore counties. This also includes Woods Reservoir. This also includes Timms Ford. So if you know anybody that's out fishing or anything like that on Timms Ford, might want to give them a text message, a call, tag them in the comments here on Facebook or whatever, and let them know that there are strong thunderstorms moving in and they need to get off the water here soon, because you don't want to be caught out there, especially when you have lightning, because there is quite a bit of lightning here within this line of thunderstorms as well. So you don't want to be caught out in the lightning, and you definitely don't want to be caught out when the winds are blowing pretty strongly as well. So you don't want to be caught out in all that. So let's put on the lightning output here, and I'll put on the summary of that. And you can see right in there quite a bit of that. They're ongoing. And it looks like we got a new scan as far as, at least as far as a new update on that warning. Let's see here. This is a new report that's coming in out of this too. At 3:21, a severe thunderstorm was located 8 miles west of Petersburg, or 12 miles south of Lewisburg, and it's moving east at 60 miles an hour. A camera on this storm indicates a potential wall cloud. So the tornado possible tag has been issued with this. Also, emergency management in Pulaski has reported structural damage with this thunderstorm at 3:10 p.m. So emergency management in Pulaski has reported structural damage with this from this severe thunderstorm. Whether that was straight line wind or whether that was a tornado, we won't know until surveys are done tomorrow or so, but there has been damage with this storm, so take it seriously. Hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. Source, emergency management. Locations that are in the path of this include Winchester, Lynchburg, Deckard, Estill Springs, Petersburg, Timms Ford Lake, Suwanee, Mulberry, Chestnut Ridge, and Howell. Those of you in those communities, you need to be, as I said, seeking shelter, getting away from windows, and let's just treat this like a tornado warning. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but there's also a tornado possible tag. And with there being a report of structural damage in the Pulaski area and also a wall cloud, that does give some indication that there is, on the leading edge, a little bit of broad rotation happening, and it's enough to where you really want to take it seriously. Also, a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for the Shelbyville area. That's Bedford County. That warning is going to go in effect for the next hour and 6 minutes until 4:30. So the current warning rundown is northern Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin until 4:15. And for Marshall, Tennessee, and Bedford, and also the southern end of Rutherford County, that goes in effect until 4:30 Central Time. So all these warnings go through the next hour. So what I'm going to do here in just a second is put a new track on this because the speed has changed. We're now looking at this moving east at about 40 to 60 miles an hour, especially on the southern end. So I'll average that out and do about 50 in a minute. But this is why I'm giving you a heads up in Coffee County, because this is heading in your direction if it holds together. And it very well could, so we'll see what happens. So let's put on a new track, and I will put this east at 50 here and average out the different speeds there between 40 and 60 that it's showing. So we'll do it from there and get you a track. So let's put this out from the heaviest part of this cell. Again, we'll just extend it out into Coffee for now. And I got to go back and do that again because it just updated. So here's the new one. So moving east, and there we go. Again, Petersburg here at 3:33, so it's knocking on your doorstep there. 3:47 in Shelbyville, War Trace 3:57, 4 o'clock for Normandy, 4:02 in Tullahoma, Manchester at 4:12, New Union around 4:14, 4:19 in Hillsboro, Pocahontas at 4:19, Morrison at 4:26, Viola at 4:29, Altamont there in Grundy County at 4:37, and 4:39 in McMinnville. So that's the locations that are in the path of this storm here. And again, I drew that out pretty long so you can actually see who else in the pack. And also Bersheba Springs will be impacted just a minute or two after Altamont as well. Again, that's if this thunderstorm holds together the way it's looking. Now again, looking here on this side of Doppler radar, there is a little bit of broad rotation. It's not very strong, but there is some broad rotation that is being indicated. And with that report of structural damage in Pulaski, we got to take that seriously. So again, while I cannot confirm that there's a tornado with this storm, there is definitely some very strong straight line winds in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range that can knock down trees and do enough to cause some minor structural damage. So heads up here along Highway 231 here around the Shelbyville area, points south into Lynchburg, down towards the Belleville community, and eventually the north side of Fayetteville. Even though it looks like the worst of this is going to miss at least downtown Fayetteville, but you'll get storms here coming out of Giles here pretty soon. And in the heaviest part of this, where you see the red and the green, this is going to head up towards Tullahoma and eventually towards Manchester here down the road. So those of you in those areas, again, like I say, heads up there. And if you know anybody that's out on Normandy Lake, you want to give them a heads up as well. Make sure they get off the water here out ahead of this, so and let them know that damaging winds are heading in their direction. A new advisory was just posted here, a special weather statement for pretty much the southern half of Lincoln County not in the severe thunderstorm warning, and also a small part of Moore County that's also not in the warning. This is going to go into effect for the next 30 minutes until 4 o'clock. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. So that's a significant weather advisory until 4 p.m. for southern Lincoln County. And the movement is moving east here at 40 miles an hour. So we'll put a track on this too. So I'll update this. As I said, we're going on the fly here as this moves off to the east. So we'll put that into motion, and I'll put a quick track on that, and this will cover the southern end of Lincoln and Moore counties, and also Franklin. Park City, Tennessee at about 3:58. Same with Fayetteville. So Park City, Fayetteville around 4 o'clock. 4:11 for Flintville. 4:24 for Huntland. 4:37 in Winchester and Deckard. 4:38 in Estill Springs. 4:53 in Sherwood. Swanee at 4:54 from this southern end. And Pelham at 4:59 if it holds together. And again, now Pelham, you'll probably get this sooner than that because you may get this southern end of this severe storm. But if this were to come up, you would get this one at the time I just showed you there. So again, really for the most part in our western areas, between now and 5 o'clock, these are going to be the areas that are under the gun here for severe weather. Now let me do a velocity scan here and just make sure we don't have any sneaky rotation, and there is definitely a pretty strong wind gust here being indicated here on the south side of Petersburg right now, showing about 55 to 60. So definitely some intense wind there, moving, getting ready to cross over Lynchburg Highway here very shortly. So heads up in that area. You are in the path of that thunderstorm as it moves off to the east. Now, what I might have to do here in a minute, since there's no highways here showing up here, at least as far as that's concerned as well, I'm going to have to change this map up here in just a minute. But still, nonetheless, seek shelter up in those areas right now that I just mentioned. So northern Lincoln County, most of Lynchburg, Moore County, and also northern Franklin County, along with as well as Bedford County and areas that I've not mentioned here. Those of you who are in the path of that in moving off to the east. Okay, we'll be fine with that as far as the map's concerned. So again, here's Highway 41A right here. That runs from Winchester up through Estill Springs. So this is a travel advisory for that area because this is going to be one of the main highways this comes across. So here's a travel advisory for 231. Coming up out of Fayetteville towards Shelbyville and Murfreesboro. Travel advisory for those that are planning on traveling on 41A between Winchester and Unionville over the next couple of hours here as this moves off to the east. So again, I recommend not really traveling, especially in these severe thunderstorm warned areas, because again, based on the history of these thunderstorms, they'll produce damaging wind, could produce some hail, and I cannot rule out the possibility that you could get a small, brief tornado out of it here at any time. So, again, we'll have to watch that carefully. Now, this southern end of the line is not as bad, at least right now. So this one down here moving into northwest Alabama and also moving into Lincoln County from Giles, this one's not near as bad. But still, it could ramp back up, especially considering the environment it's heading into. Again, it's a little more favorable for severe storms in the Huntsville area as it's warmed up pretty good down there, so just like it does everywhere else. So these storms are moving into an environment that is favorable for strong to severe storms here over the next few hours. So that's just something we got to keep an eye out on here. Again, latest velocity scan still shows a very strong punch of wind here from west to east across southern middle Tennessee at this time. And again, the leading edge of this is moving right over Petersburg. And it's getting ready to cross a 231 and highway here, moving towards Chestnut Bridge. This is going to be those are going to be the next areas in line for this. And then there's downtown Lynchburg, so close to the distillery and all that. You guys are in the path of this, of the wind here. And then over here towards Estill Springs, Woods Reservoir, and eventually Tullahoma. This is heading your way. I know you don't have a warning yet, in a severe thunderstorm warning yet in Coffee County, but Again, this is going to be knocking on your doorstep here pretty quickly because it's moving east at 50 miles an hour. So it'll be there within the next half hour to an hour. So if this holds together, you will probably get included in a severe thunderstorm warning. And Grundy County, you may also get included in a severe thunderstorm warning if this holds together down the road as well, because it's pretty much tracking. And I'll put this into motion here and turn it back to reflectivity. And you'll be able to see it's pretty much heading almost due east. Maybe a slight deviation to the east-northeast, but mostly it's due east. So if you put, so what I'll do here is I'll put a little outline here on where the most affected areas will probably be by this strong to severe storm. It's going to be somewhere in this corridor like this. So something like that. So think that covers most of Bedford County. It covers most of Coffee County, the northern ends of Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin. This would cover most of Grundy County. And I might have to move that northern line just a little bit north, but it would cover basically most of Warren, Van Buren, Squatchy, Bledsoe, Ray, Meigs, perhaps maybe the far northern end of Hamilton County down the road, like around Sale Creek and Bakewell and such, but that's pretty far out, so a lot can change between now and then. So, but I'm saying as far as like a general idea of where this heaviest part of this bow echo is heading towards, that's going to be kind of the general area here. So again, areas north and west of Chattanooga. And there's still some pretty good indications of hail in here too. It's not large hail. Like I say, it's probably up to penny or nickel size. But right in here is where we're watching that hail. Again, not very large, but enough it'll be noisy. So here's Highway 231 right here that goes south of Shelbyville here. So there's the Bedford community. It's going to be heading up towards Bottle Hollow. And there's Tullahoma. So there's the airport and the hospital and the mall there on that north side of town. That's going to be where this is going to cross here within the next 30 minutes or so. So again, it's heading in that direction there very quickly. So get ready for some strong wind gusts here in that area. And then down here to the south, I've not seen any. Again, these storms down here in Alabama are trying to intensify, but the last few minutes here, these didn't look all that strong not that long ago, but they are trying to intensify as they move east. So these will eventually, if these hold together down here, this will be an issue for Jackson County and points east and north from there here in a few hours. So it'll take a while for this part down in here especially to reach our northeast Alabama and North Georgia communities. But again, so far this has looked disorganized down here, and that's very encouraging. Hopefully it stays that way. Like I say, I hope we get weakening here as this moves off to the east. But I will say that these thunderstorms are moving in a tad sooner, just a tad sooner than previously expected. Now, it could slow down to the point where the timing is still on point. And for a lot of areas, the timing is still on point. But for the western areas, it's arriving just a little bit sooner. And I'm talking about good 20, 30 minutes earlier because of the speed, because these storms to the west have sped up a little bit. The southern end of these storms, however, have slowed down because they haven't fully coalesced or anything. So as long as they don't really get themselves together, then they'll kind of stay slow and weak. But again, this part up here that's gotten severe and has gotten intense has sped up, and it's moving at about 45 to 50 miles an hour. So that just tells you what's going on with that. And you can see right here also along this leading edge, you can kind of pick out this little gust front right here. So and that's actually doing a good thing and cutting off the outflow into these thunderstorms back out in here, moving over Giles County. So that's a good sign. So hopefully that'll be an indication that as this moves east, that'll cut out any kind of tornado threat on this southern end. Now this up here, what we have to watch out for up here is when you see it kind of hooking like this, up here on the northern end of the gust front, they're moving south of Shelbyville there. If there were to be a small tornado, it'd be about right in this area here. So you kind of see where it's kind of hooking a little bit. And there is some weak rotation aloft that I'm watching. It's not a big deal at the moment, but it's definitely something to watch as this moves up here into the southern end of Bedford County here near the Moore County line and out towards Motlow State. And eventually that's going to head out towards the main highway there through Tullahoma and then out towards the mall and over all that is out there, Walmart. So this is going to be the area that this goes over if it holds together. So if there were to be a small, brief spin up, this would be the area it goes in. So heads up in Tullahoma, you're going to at least at minimum have damaging winds. So you're definitely going to have some strong winds at minimum. You're going to have torrential downpours. You're going to have lightning. Some locations may get some pea to marble size hail, but nothing big there. And I cannot totally rule out the possibility, especially if this hook were to organize or stay together, you could get a small brief tornado out of it. Again, it's nothing dramatic right now. I'm not seeing anything really dramatic on velocities here. It's very broad and very weak. But again, it's just something we got to watch here over the next 30 minutes to an hour or so as it moves to the east at roughly 50 miles an hour. And again, as I said, these thunderstorms in Alabama are continuing to organize, so we'll have to watch those carefully here down the road. These up here to the north are staying north, but these will impact the Smithville and Woodbury areas within the next hour. But as far as severe storms are concerned, this is the only problem spot right now. So this right here is the only area that's seeing severe weather at the moment. So that little area I just circled there, that's pretty much the only area at the time seeing severe weather. And again, if this holds together, I would expect Coffee County here to get involved in a severe thunderstorm warning here at some point if this holds together. And then this could also potentially include the southern end of Warren County and possibly Grundy County as well. So again, if you know somebody that's out ahead of this in the areas I just mentioned, let them know that within the next hour or so, that strong to potentially severe thunderstorms are going to move in, and you definitely want to make sure that you're inside somewhere safe and just away from windows and let this pass. The good thing here is with this severe part of the line, it's moving fairly quickly at around 50 miles an hour, so it's not going to, sit around or stall out or anything like that. So it'll be a quick mover. But for those 10, 20 minutes that you have that, it's going to be pretty intense. So, again, like I say, it's nothing too crazy, but we'll have to watch that carefully. Again, there's still some indication here of some weak rotation happening aloft in this storm, moving into southern Bedford right now. I mean, you can kind of see that very well here on this radar imagery with the hook where you get the lightning here on this north side. So it's something we'll have to watch here over the next little bit. And then back out here to the west, we'll look and see real quick if there's anything else back here, and I'm not seeing anything to the west right now. So after this line gets through, that's the end of the severe threat. So once this line of strong to severe storms gets through our area, that will be it. We just got to get through this part right here. If we can and once we get through this part, we'll be good to go the rest of the night. And all you see back out here to the west, and I'll even put on the Memphis radar to show it to you here, it's just rain back here. So all you see back out in here is just rain. But that's gonna funnel in here over the next few hours behind this line of thunderstorms. But right now, the most immediate of concern are these severe thunderstorms here moving across the southern part of the state of Tennessee here, mainly, especially north of Thames Ford Lake, through the north side of Lynchburg, and also moving into the Shelbyville area. You guys up there are probably going to get some hail out of this, some small hail over the next 10 minutes or so. And then that's going to cross Highway 41A out here on the north side of Tullahoma. So heads up out here towards Midway, Bottle Hollow, Normandy, Courtner area. You guys are going to be getting in on this activity soon. And then the Tullahoma Airport and other areas here along the main strip there, that's North Jackson Street. Those areas along North Jackson need to be ready for this because this is heading your way there in the Tullahoma area. And then here's Normandy Lake. It's a little shower going over there right now, but that's non-severe. This is heading your direction as well. So let's put an updated track on this thunderstorm real quick here, and we'll time this out about the same. Got a new warning update, so let's update that as well. Again, we'll put that east at 40 based on current movement, so I'll double check, make sure that's right. There we go. And again, here is the latest track on that. And I'll go ahead and put Dunlap in this too, just so to give you a heads up there down the road, especially if it holds together. Again, Shelbyville, this is pretty much in your area within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Normandy around 4:04. Tullahoma downtown along Jackson Street there around 408, around 419 in Manchester, 420 in New Union, Hillsborough around 428. And actually, I got to update that track, so scratch what you just heard there, because since that just updated. So let me put out a new one here that actually shows the current update. So there we go. Normandy at 4 o'clock. So basically, Normandy, Tullahoma area around 4 o'clock. Around 4:14 in Manchester, 4:16 in New Union, 4:24 in Hillsborough, 4:34 for Viola, 4:45 for Altamont and Colmont, Beersheba around 4:51, Grutley around 4:54, and Dunlap, if it holds together that far east, around 5:13. So again, that's kind of a long-range track there that kind of gets you a heads up here. So this would actually impact, if it were to hold together, this would actually impact the Sequatchie and Bledsoe County areas of the Sequatchie Valley within about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, roughly. So that gives you kind of a look at that and some exact times on that end of things. Again, we'll check velocities here just to make sure we don't have any kind of real rotation, and thankfully it's staying very broad and mainly wind. Again, just gusty wind with this as this moves off to the east, and you can see here pretty well that the west to east motion of this green is continuing to punch east. So that's a strong indication of straight line wind that could produce some tree damage, some power line damage, and even some minor structural damage in some areas, especially if it gets strong enough as that moves off to the east. And also, where you see this cluster of lightning, that's another area too where there's also an intensification of thunderstorms. And when you see lightning increasing around these heavier part of these storms, that's an indication that at least part of this thunderstorm is actually intensifying. And that's what we've seen here over the last little bit. This has kind of cycled a little, and and such. So, and that's typical. I mean, that's what tends to happen a lot of times. We get storms that cycle, and they may weaken for a few frames, and then they may re-intensify again at some point down the road. So this is just something we got to keep our eyes on here over the next little bit as it moves off to the east. And we now have a new advisory that's just been issued here. This is a special weather statement. This is going to go in effect for parts of Cannon and DeKalb counties in Tennessee. That also includes the Cookeville area, so that's Putnam County. That's going to go in effect for the next 45 minutes. And again, that's going to be mainly for, let me see, get that on there. That's mainly for gusty winds. So wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So heads up there around Smithville and Woodbury and up towards the Cookeville area. You guys are going to be having strong thunderstorms moving in there within the next hour. So within the next 30 minutes to an hour, you guys will be seeing that. So a quick heads up for those of you up that way. So at the moment, as I said here, we're down to these two warnings here. This one for the Shelbyville area, and this one down in here for Lincoln Moore and the northern ends of Lincoln Moore and Franklin County. And again, this one goes in effect again until 4:45, and then 4:15, and this one for Bedford County goes in effect until 4:30. So 4:15 for northern Moore, northern Lincoln, and northern Franklin counties, and then 4:30 for Bedford County, including Normandy, Wartrace, Bell Buckle, and Shelbyville. So that's the current situation there with that. And we still got this one advisory working down here towards Fayetteville and Park City and Flintville and Taft and Lincoln County. Also towards the Mulberry area too. And also down around Lincoln. And not quite Elora, but it's going to be there pretty soon anyways. But at this point, this is the other advisory that goes in effect here through the next 15 minutes until 4 o'clock. Again, nothing yet for Southern Cannon or Coffee, Grundy, or Warren, but as this thunderstorm complex moves to the east, I think you'll at least get a significant weather advisory or a special weather statement, or you may get a severe thunderstorm warning, because this is still holding together pretty tightly here. At least the wind mode is on this. And you can see right here, the winds are still pretty intense in here. So, again, not quite to what they were as they were west of I-65, so it has come down a little bit, but they're still strong enough to where they can knock down tree limbs and all that stuff. So that's just something to watch here over the next little bit as this moves off to the east. Again, these are the only warnings that we have in effect for the entire area at this time. So I do want to point that out. So these two are the only severe thunderstorm warnings we have at this time. A severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect for most of Middle Tennessee through 8 p.m. In our area, that includes Lincoln, Moore, Franklin, Coffee, Warren, Van Buren, Cannon, White, Cumberland, and DeKalb counties in Middle Tennessee. That watch goes in effect until 8. Now, that's the watch, not the warning. So I figured I'd remind you real quick that there's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for most of the mid-state. Now, will we see this watch get extended farther east into, let's say, northeast Alabama or the Squatchy Valley or other locations? That remains to be seen. And the reason why I say that is because it's going to depend on if anything else down here to the south and west can organize or not. And that's going to be the big question here. Will any of this down in here that's currently disorganized in Alabama be able to organize itself into a broken line like this has and become severe? We're really not going to know that answer for probably a few hours, because as I said here, this is a long evening here. This is just the beginning. These warnings out here to the west, this is only the beginning here. We got to get this through the whole area here, at least these thunderstorms. So we got several hours to where we're going to have to watch for the potential of strong to severe storms here with this broken line as it moves from west to east. And this southern part is moving a lot slower than the northern end. So this southern part's going to take longer of time to get through here. And with temperatures out ahead of this in the middle to upper 70s, there's some locations in the valley I was seeing just before coming on here that were hitting 80. There's a lot of, so the air is pretty unstable. Dew points are a little down. We've had a little bit of mixing happening, so that may help to cut down on that very low tornado threat. So that I'm hoping that cuts down on that a little. But as far as the very warm temperatures, we certainly have that in place. We have just enough instability and shear to get thunderstorms at minimum. And whether they turn severe or not, that's going to be the question for this southern part of the line as it moves off to the east. But this one already is up here, moving across basically halfway between Shelbyville and Tullahoma right now. Now, I do want to watch and make sure that we don't get any surprise spin-ups here. And here's one that may be trying to form here, south and east of Shelbyville here. It's very broad, but we'll watch this carefully. You see kind of where this red and green are meeting right here. We're going to have to watch that. So it's moving east towards Normandy. So heads up in Normandy and out here towards Coffee County Central there in Manchester. This is heading in your direction here. So no formal tornado warning on this. But this popped up here just now. I mean, literally within the last scan. So it's something that I'm going to watch here. So if you know somebody that's out here towards Normandy or the north side of Tullahoma or even Manchester, tell them to get ready for strong winds and strong to severe storms. But also, there could be a small tornado that might spin up. Let's check and make sure this isn't on the ground. And so far, ooh, that's close. Let's see if that matches up or not. Okay, no, it doesn't. So that's good. So no debris signature there on that, thankfully, at least at the moment. But there's definitely some evidence in here. When you look at reflectivity and such, there is a little bit of a bend you see right here. You kind of see where the moisture's the rain and such is wrapping around, and you got a little bit of inflow here. So yeah, there's definitely a broad circulation aloft right here that's getting ready to cross a 41A. So about halfway between Tullahoma and Shelbyville here, just south of Normandy, and just north of the Lowe's and Walmart there in Tullahoma, so just north of there by a couple miles. And then that's going to head out here towards Normandy Lake. So here's the lake right in here. And then that's going to head out towards the south side of Manchester as well. So these are the areas that we'll have to watch over the next 20 minutes or so just to make sure that hopefully nothing crazy happens here. But so far, there is a little bit of evidence here of some broad circulation here, and it's still there. So the last scan, it's still broad, but it's still there. So we'll have to watch that carefully. Again, let me check and see if that shows up on Storm Relative. And, yep, it's still there. So right over Singleton, Bottle Hollow area. And then that's moving up towards Courtner's Mill and Normandy. So you'll, at least at minimum, from this thunderstorm, at the minimum, you're going to have some very strong winds. Probably, and considering this is a severe thunderstorm warning, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts are certainly possible. You'll have some heavy downpours, quite a bit of lightning, And you may have a little bit of maybe some pea, maybe up to penny-sized hail with this, especially this northern part right here. We see this pink. That's going to head up towards the Manchester area as well. So you may get some small hail out of this too, but not enough to damage any vehicles, but enough to where you'll hear it as it moves overhead. And the wind fields down in here have also kind of intensified a little bit, just a little bit as it moves into Lynchburg. So got some very strong wind in here, indicated by this bright green, moving from west to east across northern Lincoln County, northern Moore County, and eventually it's going to head towards Estill Springs. So heads up in Estill Springs. This is heading in your direction if it holds together over the next little bit. And I'm looking here behind the scenes, and I may punch up the other source here too, so that way we have two different radars here. So let me get that up real quick, and I can actually look at the shear rate with that. So I'll wait for that to load just to see if we got anything with it. Again, it may take a minute here to load, but we'll see if there's any kind of, at least as far as hail or anything like that. And you see right in there, got a little bit of hail in here, north of Hinesville, moving up towards Normandy. So there's Normandy Lake right over in here. Busy corner, Manchester. This is heading your direction. And in the rotation track, there it is. So there is a little bit of here on shear rate that I'm watching right in here on this other source. And it's moving right over Midway as we speak. You gotta remember, this product right here is about 5 minutes old. So think of this being a little bit more over here, but a few miles to the east. Considering this is an archive thing, but it's a good tool to look at to see if there's any kind of spinning aloft. And good thing here is far not showing any of that. So again, this is definitely something to watch, and I'll leave it on here so we can go back and check it here whenever necessary. But we'll put this back on reflectivity, and it's refreshing, and there you go. So there's the newest scan. Again, strong to severe storms continue, basically from Lynchburg up to Wartrace, knocking on the door of Coffee County here. So heads up in areas like New Union, Hillsborough, Manchester, Summitville, Pocahontas, out towards Busy Corner, and Noah. In these areas, you are next in line to get this activity. And I'm not sure, I haven't checked anything to see if they're going to extend this warning or not. At least the severe thunderstorm warning. Have not heard of that yet. But again, the main threat with this is damaging wind. The good news is that little broad circulation that I was talking about a few minutes ago has thankfully broadened out. So that's good news. So now it's just mostly wind. I mean, it's always been just mainly wind as the main threat, but again, we'll continue to watch this to make sure it doesn't try to pop back up again. But so I'm no longer seeing any kind of like real nasty, at least rotation wise or anything like that. So that's good. But again, there's still a pretty good indication of small hail and a definite indication of a strong wind gust here moving right over the Normandy area as we speak. And then that's going to move up here towards the Manchester area here in a few minutes. And I'm not sure what's happening up there, but you're getting some noise here in the background. So if y'all hear that, that's some crazy thing happening outside. Don't know what that is, but either way, we got some quite a bit of lightning here. So notice there's been a little bit of an increase in that over the last few frames, as that's moved over Highway 41A there across southeastern Bedford County. But the rest of the line down in here, once you get to about Lynchburg and south, that lightning has actually diminished quite a bit. So that's a good sign. So hopefully that means that these, we'll just say heavy downpours down here in northwest Alabama will stay weak. And again, you got to remember there's also an outflow boundary running along out ahead of that. So that may also be helping and at least cutting down on any upscale growth behind it. Now ahead of it, we'll have to watch these little showers here that are forming also in North Alabama out ahead of this, because if these were to grow upscale, they could potentially strengthen and become severe at some point. So we'll have to watch these down here to the south too. So it's not just up in here, moving over, about to move over Tullahoma and Manchester. It's also, we got to watch and see what develops out here to the south to see if that will end up having any impact at some point down the road. So we'll just have to wait and see what we have there. So I've not gotten any reports of Good news is so far I haven't had any new reports coming in of any kind of like damage or anything, so that's very encouraging. So that's the good thing there. I've not gotten any new reports of wall clouds or anything like that within the last 20 minutes. The only one I know of is that one report that came out of Pulaski there in Giles County as that severe thunderstorm was moving over there. A camera from its EMA center caught a wall cloud, and I saw it briefly too there before having to go live. It didn't look like it was really rotating, but for a moment there was, for at least a few minutes there was a wall cloud there, so that's why the tornado possible tag was added to these warnings because of that report and that observation. So as far as I know, other than some structural damage being reported out there in Pulaski, I have not heard anything additional in any mention of these counties here to the east. So hopefully it'll stay that way, and that'll be a sign that hopefully that this is weakening to an extent. But the wind fields here are still pretty strong, but as I said, they're not quite as strong as they were when it was west of I-65 earlier, when I was out there towards Lawrenceburg and points west from there. But it's still pretty strong nonetheless, with the torrential downpours, the lightning, the thunder, very loud. Winds on the leading edge could be 50 to 60 in the severe zone, up to 40 in the non-severe zone. And again, there could be some pea to marble size hail as well in some of the stronger cells, but at the moment I'm not seeing any real evidence of any strong hail, but it'd be pretty small if there was anything. So again, just waiting word here to see what the next update is. And we now have a new severe thunderstorm warning that does include Coffee, Grundy, and Warren counties. So we just got that word in. The warning has been extended, and that's going to go in effect for the next hour, so till 5 o'clock. So now until 5 o'clock, we have a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag on it. I want you to be notified of that for Warren County, Middle Tennessee, Coffee County, Middle Tennessee, and Grundy County until 5 o'clock. A severe thunderstorm was located 8 miles north of Tullahoma or 10 miles west of Manchester. It is moving east at 50 miles an hour, so spread the word. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. It's radar indicated. Locations that are in the path of this include McMinnville, Manchester, Tullahoma, Grutley Logger, Tracy City, Monteagle, Colmont, Altamont, Morrison, Palmer, Beersheba Springs, Viola, Summitville, Hillsboro, Pelham, Arnold Air Force Base, and Fiery Gizzard. Now, this is a note if you're traveling along Interstate 24. If you know anybody traveling on Interstate 24, this includes mile markers number 99 and 135. So that 36-mile stretch of I-24 in Grundy and Coffee counties, this is the stretch of the interstate that's involved in this warning as well. So again, pretty much all of Warren County, all of Coffee County, and all of Grundy County, you're all under a severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock, 1 hour. So that's how long it's going to take for this line to get through that area. And it's moving east at 50 miles an hour. So we'll get you some times of arrival here. We'll kind of do this separately here because there's two different line segments here. So let's time out this northern section, and then we'll go south. So let's start here, and we'll go from there. So again, this is going to move to the east here at 50 miles an hour. So I'm going to have to update that track real quick. So yeah, let me X out of that and correct that real fast. And there we go. So there we have it. Again, this will be in Manchester around 4:09, so you got less than 10 minutes. 4:10 in New Union, 4:23 in Viola, and Viola around 4:25, Morrison around 4:23. This is for the northern end of the line. Beersheba there around 4:38, so Northcutt's Cove area also around 4:35. If it holds together, Pikeville, this will be in your area just after 5 o'clock. So McMinnville area, you're looking at around 4:30. And up around Spencer, you're looking at anywhere between 4:30 and 5 o'clock also in Spencer, even though it looks like you'll get the weaker end of this up in here, but still nonetheless something to watch. Now down here to the south, let's update this Franklin County warning here real fast because we got a new update. 40 miles an hour on that. And again, that warning has been updated there, so we'll track that east at 40 to the southern end of the line. Remember, the southern end's moving slower than the northern end of the line, so that's something to keep note of. So again, this is going to be the southern end we track. And again, this is pretty much going to include most of the communities here in Grundy County. So Tullahoma around 418, Estill Springs around 424, Hillsboro around 439, Pelham around 445, Altamont and Colmont around 5 o'clock, 507 in Beersheba, 508 in Grootley, 514 in Griffith Creek, and Dunlap, if it holds together that far east, around 528. So it does look like from this end, the more severe part of this thunderstorm may pass just north of Mont Eagle and Tracy, but if it were to trend a little bit more easterly, this would impact you also around between about 4:30 and 5:30. So around the same time roughly, even though it does look like this part wants to move a little bit more east-northeast. But again, if it were to change direction, it'll get down in your area between roughly 4:30 and 5:30 if it holds together. And then we'll check velocities here real quick to make sure we don't have any kind of rotation. So far, that's not been the case over at least the last 10 minutes, so that's good. This is just a one solid line here of heavy rain and wind that's moving off to the east. And the good thing here, it's lost its intensity just a little bit. I mean, it's still a fairly healthy line here, but it's lost its real intensity here recently, so that's the good news. But again, it could ramp back up, so that's why we're tracking this here. At least that's why I'm tracking this, because remember, this could easily change at a moment's notice. So if you know somebody that's out ahead of this, so if you know somebody in McMinnville, if you know somebody in Grootley, if you know somebody in Manchester or Beersheba or really any part of these counties, because all the entire counties of Coffee, Warren, and Grundy are under this, make sure they know to seek shelter and get away from windows, at least do that, and wait for this to pass. Now, you don't, in this instance, at least right now, you don't have to take tornado precautions, but you at least want to be away from the windows, because the first thing that could get blown open by strong winds would be those windows. And again, straight line winds can do that. I mean, 50 to 60 mile an hour straight line winds can do that. So that's just something to keep in mind here over the next little bit. And again, I'm also typing this warning out as well here for the group and all that other stuff too, to let them know. So again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect until 4:15 for northern Moore and northern Franklin counties. That's about to expire in the next 10 minutes. And then we got this newer one that's been issued for all of Coffee County, 80% of Warren County, and all of Grundy County until 5. Again, that's all Central Time. That'd be 6 o'clock Eastern Time. So that's just something to keep in mind over the next little bit. So again, that goes into effect till 5 p.m. Central, and again, it's for the potential of 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts mostly. Could be some small hail, but again, nothing big on that. The main thing here is the strong winds and all that. That's it. I don't see at the moment any kind of tornadic activity, but the reason why I'm on here is because there's the possibility of damaging winds. And again, when it comes to warnings, we're going to be on it until at least they either weaken or fall apart or until they expire. So that's just the strategy here. Again, we're still getting some pretty strong winds in here. When you see these bright reds and you see these bright greens here going, different directions here, at least broadly, that's the indication of a strong straight line wind. And granted that the colors are not as bright as they were earlier, it does show a sign that this line is weakening a little bit. But it's still something worth noting to go ahead and issue the warning, because again, there still could be some very strong winds on this leading edge. And you can kind of see right in here, this is the Nashville radar I'm showing. And you can see right in here these bright greens where it indicates that wind moving off from west to east. And then up in here, just so I'm not forgetting anybody up here that may be watching from Smithville to Cookville, you also got some strong thunderstorms moving in with gusty wind. But this part up in here, even though it's very bright here on this color table up in here, that storm is currently technically non-severe at the moment. And we'll check on this other storm here. moving to the south there, moving over Lincoln County. That significant weather advisory has expired, and really no need in issuing it anymore anyways, because that's actually weakened quite a bit. So that's some good news for those of you down there. The Bama cells down in here still look pretty disorganized, somewhat. I mean, they're healthy where they develop somewhat, but they're still pretty disorganized. That's good. So hopefully it stays that way here through the evening. So, as I said, the only area experiencing severe thunderstorms, the only areas I should say, are Moore County, northern Franklin County. Now, Winchester, you're out of this. So, Winchester, Deckard, Belvedere, Suwannee, Huntland, y'all are out of this. This is not going to affect you. You may get rain and stuff, and maybe some gusty wind from the west a little bit later, but the severe part of this is trending north of you. If you're in Estill Springs, you're going to be on the south side of this. So Woods Reservoir over towards the Alto community, and on the north side, on the northern shores there of Timms Ford Lake and Estill as well. So those areas right there I just mentioned, you do have the warning in effect, and you're going to be on the southern end of the potential severe gusts. And again, Manchester, this is pretty much almost on top of you right now. So Manchester, Tullahoma, this is pretty much action time here. These thunderstorms are basically on top of y'all right now. Again, you got the damaging wind potential, the torrential rain, the lightning. That's all going to move off to the east. And if you have any reports or anything like that, if you're in a safe position, feel free to send those in. And kind of give people down the road kind of what to expect here as that moves off to the east. So if you're watching from any of those areas, just to give a report at least on what you're seeing and your observations and such, so that way those down the line can know what's heading their way. But again, the latest radar scan, there's the new one that just came out. Again, the heaviest part of this line is now moving pretty much right over downtown Tullahoma. So right over Wilson Avenue where they're doing all that construction out that way. So this is also moving over towards Cedar Lane, Atlantic Street. There's North Jackson that runs northwest, southeast through town. The mall and all that up in here are getting the heaviest of this strong to severe storm. Also Manchester, from Rutledge Falls up to the north. This is heading up towards where the water park and recreation complex is up here. You're getting in on this now. Downtown's going to get in on this here within the next 5 minutes or so. And then out here towards the interstate, out here towards where the Bonnaroo venue is, and out there where all the businesses and restaurants are there as you get off the interstate at 41 there, that's Hillsborough Boulevard. This storm is getting ready to move into your area within the next 5 to 10 minutes as well. So again, the two cities that are currently getting the heaviest of this activity right now are the cities of Tullahoma and Manchester. And then after that, just to warn downstream, Arnold Air Force Base is next, Hillsborough's next, so is New Union, Summitville, Viola, Altamont up here towards Northcutt's Cove. You're going to be getting in on this soon within the next 20 minutes or so. Then it's going to be Beersheba and Savage Gulf and up towards the Tarleton Valley area and eventually up into Irving College. Now, it does appear for you folks in McMinnville, as far as the way this is looking, and Morrison is in the same category here, it does appear that the worst of this, at least the heaviest part of this storm, is going to pass south of you. So you may just get some gusty wind, some rain and thunder up in here towards McMinnville, even though you're technically in the warning. But it does appear, and I'll put this on a loop, it's likely going to pass south of you. The heaviest is going to pass south of you. So the areas that I would say would be most in line are basically Tullahoma, Colmont, Palmer, north, up to about Summitville and Irving College. That's going to be kind of the corridor here, so I'll draw that here. So something like this is going to be the area that's probably most involved. So right there. So that's exactly where this heaviest part is moving toward, and it's moving something like this. So this is going to be the zone here over the next hour, roughly 30 minutes to an hour, that's going to be getting in on this strong to severe storm activity, and the only area at this time that has that. So again, we'll check the velocities here real quick just to see if we have any kind of spin. I'm not seeing that, thankfully. It's still showing one color, so that's a good sign. So as long as it stays one color here on this leading edge and doesn't start mixing with green or anything, green or red, then I think we'll be good there. But strong winds nonetheless moving across moving over towards the high school and all that down there on the south side of Manchester. So get ready for some strong wind gusts there. Some 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in that area. So that's right there along Highway 55. So Highway 55, Highway 41, that's the area most involved at this time. And then those of you down here in Estill Springs, you've been downgraded from the severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're in Franklin County and Moore County, the severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled for you and has been replaced by a special weather statement. And this is going to be for 40 mile an hour wind gusts and pea-size hail. So for northern Franklin County, your warning has been canceled and has been replaced and downgraded to a special weather statement. So this part of the line, thankfully, has fallen apart to an extent. So, and this only really includes places like Shady Grove, Estill Springs, where they have the outdoor movie theater and all that in that area, and over towards Woods Reservoir, and also Alto. Those are the only communities in Franklin County that are under this advisory. Everybody else south is good for now. You got rain and thunderstorms moving in from Lincoln County that are weak, but at the moment, that's what they are. They're weak, non-severe at this time. The only severe part is in Coffee County. So from Tullahoma to Manchester to New Union, right there along Highway 55. I mean, this thing is lined up basically right up and down Highway 55 right now, and it may head up towards Summitville. I know Summitville's not on this map here. There it is. But right in here, so from Summitville south, that's going to be the zone for this as this moves off to the east. Now, there's still a little bit of a notch right here, but when I look at velocities here, I know there's a little bit of a hook there, but nothing really strikes out to me on that. That's just some strong wind there. I know it has that little bit of a hook shape, but at least so far, it's not doing any spinning, at least at the moment. It's mainly just a heavy rain and a heavy windstorm as it moves off to the east here. And it's getting ready to cross I-24 here very soon if it hasn't done so yet. So I-24 heads up between Pelham and Beech Grove. That's going to be where the heaviest part of this storm crosses. So if you can hold off and maybe wait at Monteagle or Pelham and wait for this to pass, if you're coming westbound out of Marion County or Chattanooga, that'd be the best thing to do at this time. And wait for this storm to cross over the interstate, because you definitely don't want to be out in this, because this is definitely going to be quite heavy. So you're going to have, again, the downpours are going to be excessive. You're going to have you're going to have some lightning. The winds are going to get gusty, and for tractor trailers and such, they don't do well, especially when the winds get up to the 50 to 60 mile an hour range. So you definitely want to hold off on travel, and let this pass. But again, this is the most intense part of this broken line. And I will say that the long range, the short range model guns I've looked at here over the past couple of days, here behind the scenes, I have noticed that it's been very consistent on showing something like this, that forming. And it's been a little bit varying in location, of course, but it's been consistent on something like this forming and getting severe over the last couple of days. So that's just something to want to note of here. So it is doing that, in a similar area where the model was showing. So it's kind of lined up there in that spot. Now again, looking at a new velocity scan here, we'll query some of these winds and see what they look like. Good thing here is these have come down quite a bit in intensity, so that's good. No signs of any real circulation or anything too crazy. Nothing really striking out here on the wind side, so that's good. But again, it's still pretty gusty nonetheless, still pretty strong. And then, and there's the hail core right up in here. So that's moving right over Interstate Drive up there. So where you got the hotels, got the medical center up that way, and just north of the recreation complex there and the water park and all that. So that's going to be just north of there. So right where that Woodbury Highway and 24 exit is, that's where this little bit of small hail is overhead. And it's eventually going to make its way right up McMinnville Highway. That's Highway 55. And it's going to head up towards Forest Mill, towards Ragsdale Road, and eventually up towards the south side of Summitville and in towards the Saneville area as well, here in eastern Coffee County. Also Asbury, Wintontown, Hubbard's Cove, and Grundy County will be next in line to see this thunderstorm as well. Again, a quick reminder, for those just tuning in. We don't have any watches for East Tennessee or North Georgia or Northeast Alabama at this time, but there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect that covers all of Middle Tennessee. So that includes Lincoln, Moore, Franklin, Coffee, Grundy, Warren, Van Buren, Cumberland, DeKalb, and White counties in my coverage area here locally. And that goes in effect till 8 o'clock. That's when the watch goes in effect for areas west of the Sequatchie Valley. So right now, that's where the main favorite area is west of Chattanooga and west of the Sequatchie Valley for now. Because I say for now because more thunderstorms are developing to the south and west that are going to eventually move in with time. It's just going to take a few hours to do so. And again, we got a long evening ahead of us here. Hopefully this is the only warning we get. Hopefully the warnings we've seen are the only ones we get. That's what we're hoping for. And so far I haven't heard of any damage. So that's another good sign. That tells me right there that these storms are actually, a lot of them may be going below what they're being warned for. So hopefully that trend continues and we don't have any kind of damage or anything like that spurs up out of us all of a sudden. So it looks like the wind did increase just a little bit here on this eastern edge, but it's still not too crazily impressive. So showing some 40s in here and some 30s, but nothing as far as winds, but nothing too crazy. But it's still warned on, though, out of precaution in case it were to cycle. Because you got to remember, sometimes, and considering this is getting ready to go up in elevation, as this rides up the Cumberland Plateau here into parts of northern Grundy County and southern Warren County and eventually into parts of Sequatchie and Van Buren here, it is possible that as this goes up in elevation, it might try to re-strengthen as it does so, as it interacts with that elevation as it comes up. Because remember, the higher in altitude you are, higher in elevation you are, the winds increase as you go up. So there is a possibility. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it'll happen, because there's no guarantee that it will, but I'm saying there's a possibility that this wind mode here, the leading edge of this where the strong wind gusts are, it may ramp up a little bit for at least a few minutes as it goes up that elevation. So that's just something that you want to be ready for in case it were to happen from, we'll say, especially in Altamont and Beersheba. You want to be ready for that, and also out towards Cagle. This is heading towards Cagle if it holds together, and up towards the Mennonite community in southern Van Buren County, and also up towards Baker Mountain Road. So those are going to be the next areas that will get this. So let's put another track on this, and we'll update the speed here just to make sure that it's doing it right. So this is moving east again at 50 miles an hour as of the last check. So we'll edit that here. So I'll edit that track before I put it out, just to make sure we're on the right path here. So this is going to be the leading edge of this as it moves over the Manchester area. And actually, I got to go back and do that because it moved again. I said it's moving so quick that it's getting a little harder here to get through this. All right, so let's move this east here at about 50 miles an hour. And we'll plop on the cities here on the map. Viola here around 4:30. So Viola, it's almost over you. So around 4:30 for you. Around 4:40 for Altamont. 4:45 or so for Beersheba. So Beersheba heads up in that area. So Cagle, southern Van Buren County area, northern Sequatchie County, you're looking at probably around 5 o'clock for you guys up there. Pikeville around 5:17 if it holds together, and then the Dayton area as well as Graysville there between 6 p.m. and 6:30 Eastern time if this line holds together, and that's a big if. So if it gets that far east, it'll be there probably between 6 and 6:30 for you out that way in Ray County. But again, that's a long way to go from now. I mean, this has got to go through some territory and some elevation here before it gets out that way. So it may fall apart before then, but if it holds together, that's where it's going next. Again, the winds here, let's query that again just to see if there's been any change. Yeah, it has ramped up a little bit. There's a 60 right there. So, again, that's a little off the surface, so it's probably more like 50 or so at the surface, but that's still a very strong gust. So, that's heading up here towards Hubbard's Cove, Winton Town, over towards North Cuts, towards the Tarleton Valley area, as well as Viola. So this is going to be the part of the area that gets this here. So here's Coffee County right here. This is Grundy County over here. and this is Warren County, so it might be better if I do it this way. So this W, that's Warren County. This G here, that's Grundy County, and this is Coffee right here. So this wind signature here that's moving out of Coffee counties in Manchester is heading, basically going to follow right near along the Warren Grundy County line, so pretty close to where Northcutt's, Beersheba, Tarleton Valley, south side of Viola area here. So it's going to clip Altamont on the north side, and it may get part of Savage Gulf, but looks like the heaviest, at least the wind part, might stay just north of Savage Gulf, but it'll still get gusty there either way. And we got a new advisory here that was just issued here just farther south. Let's check this out. This does include a southern Franklin and northwestern Jackson counties. This is for a strong thunderstorm with up to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts and pea-sized hail. So this has actually intensified pretty quickly over the last few scans. Again, it's showing some pretty strong wind in here. I see why they got that advisory here. So it's definitely showing some 40s in here. So you're definitely going to get some strong winds here across northern Madison County, southern Lincoln County, and into southern Franklin and northwestern Jackson counties. So think High Top, up towards the Bass community, north of Stevenson, up towards Sherwood, Keith Springs Mountain, Huntland area. You're going to have some gusty winds here moving your way from this thunderstorm that's really intensified here over the last few minutes. I mean, it really was barely there a few minutes ago, so it popped up really fast. And probably the reason why it has popped up so fast because it's actually caught up in some way to the outflow. So this thunderstorm here is sort of caught up to that outflow. So we'll have to watch and see what that does as that moves basically right down the state line here. So even though it looks like it wants to trend more towards the Tennessee side as opposed to the Alabama side, but either way, that's a strong thunderstorm there, pretty much going along the Tennessee-Alabama state line, passing near Elora and Flintville and Lincoln County, and then it's going to be Huntland, Keith Springs Mountain, Sherwood, Anderson, Bass, just north of High Top, but close enough to where you still want to at least be away from windows. Now back up here to the severe thunderstorm, moving into southern Warren, northern Grundy counties. Out of Coffee here, there's some hail being indicated here south of Summitville and moving up towards Bryan Mill and also Viola here, so south of 55. So this is cleared 55, but still some very intense. Also, winds are still pretty high in here. They've actually ramped up a little bit on this northern apex here of this line, so that's something to watch too. So where you see this comma shape in this bow that goes south, that's an indication of those strong straight line winds. And again, we could have some 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts here in the northern half of Grundy County, the southern part of Warren County, and up in here in this northeastern quadrant of Coffee County, and eventually towards northern Sequatchie County. So think of Cagle and points north to the Highway 8, 111 Junction, and then up here across southern Van Buren County. Those are going to be the next areas in line to see this, and you can kind of see the general area that this is going in. So that's the way it's looking at this time with this northern part of the line. Now this southern part I don't want to underestimate here because it's still quite strong here. Moving right over a woods reservoir. So right over the Calls community, or actually about to move into there in southern Coffee County, eventually towards Pelham, Betsy Willis area, and then right now it's right over Arnold Air Force Base. Not as strong as the northern part of that line, but the southern part still has some oomph to it, as it still has some gusty winds and some heavy downpours with it as it moves towards the north side of Pelham, so Payne Cove up towards 108. That's going to head up towards Altamont, eventually towards Colmont, and then Grootley here down the road. So that's where this southern line end of the line is going. Now there is a little bit of a speed difference here. 40 miles an hour. That one's moving east at 40, but this other one to the north is moving at 50. So what I'll do is I'll track the southern end, and I'll do it at 45 to split the difference there, average it out. So we'll get you some good lead time on this. We'll tell you where this southern end of the line is going next. So Hillsboro is pretty much on top of you right now, around 430. Around 449 in Altamont, Colmont around 450, 455 in Beersheba, 4:57 in Grootley, around 5 o'clock or so in Palmer, and just before 5:15, 5:14 that is, in Dunlap. That's if the southern end of the line holds together. But so far, as I said, it's a strong storm, so it has held together, but it's still intense nonetheless. With the heavy downpours, some lightning, winds getting a little gusty too. And let's go ahead and track this. I know this is technically a little more rural down here, but we still got some communities down here like Huntland and Sherwood and some others here. So we'll track that. And before I do, let me make sure I got the right speed on that. Double check. Again, it's moving east at 50, so I'll prop that back up to 50. So that way we can adjust to that. So that's moving east at 50, so let's put the track on this southern end, and we'll actually track from the gust front here. That make more sense. So let's track it from the gust front. And I'll actually put this in the Marion County here to give y'all a heads up, as well as Bridgeport. So Huntland here around 442, the leading edge of this with the gust front. Around 505 for Sherwood, 512 for Orme, 519 for South Pitt and Bridgeport. That would also include New Hope as well. Kimball around 521, Jasper around 525, and Little Squatchy around 527. If this part holds together and moves in your direction, that's going to be where it goes. But again, if it moves a little more northeast, it may get delayed. But at the moment, it appears it's heading basically right along east-northeast there along the Tennessee border with the state of Alabama. And then down here to the south here, just checking on these Alabama cells here, make sure they're not spinning or anything. So far, that's not been the case, so that's good. At least they're not spinning. But again, still getting some strong wind indications here of at least around 40 miles an hour. They're moving across southern Lincoln County, and it's going to move into southern Franklin County here very soon. And then back up here to our severe storm. That still has that tag on there, a tornado possible there in parts of Grundy, Coffee, and Warren counties. But at this point, I'm not seeing a risk of a tornado at this time. I mean, to be honest, I don't think we're seeing a tornado risk at the moment. I think this is mostly a strong gusty wind as that moves off to the east into Viola. So Viola, this is pretty much right over you, or it's about to be here very shortly. And then Hubbard's Cove, this is pretty much about to move over your area too. So, and there's North Cuts, and there's Tarleton Valley, so it's going to move right over there very soon. And in Irving College, you might get some small hail up in here towards Viola and Irving College here very soon as well. So you may get some pea to possibly penny-sized hail up in here, but nothing big. And in McMinnville, you're not going to get the worst part of this. You're just going to get the heavy rain. So you're going to get some heavy rain. Wind might get a little gusty, but this won't be bad up in here. If it were up to me, the only severe part of this that would be warned on, if it were up to me, I would take Mont Eagle and Tracy out of this and basically put it from about, we'll say, 108 and up to about Irving College. That would be the east of Manchester. That would be my delineation there, because the worst of this is not going to impact McMinnville. This is not going to impact Rock Island. Morrison's on the north side, but they're not going to see the worst of this, and it's out of Manchester now. So Manchester, Tullahoma, you're clear from this. And again, back out here to the west, Shelbyville, Lynchburg, Fayetteville, you're clear. And I'll even say that Estill Springs, Franklin County, at least this part of Franklin County, the northern part of the county, you're good up that way. Southern part of Franklin County, down towards Huntland and Sherwood, you got a strong thunderstorm moving in there, so that could strengthen. So we'll have to watch that carefully and see if it gets severe thunderstorm warned eventually. But again, at the moment, the most severe part of this thunderstorm is mainly in the northern half of Grundy County, so basically north of 108, so along and north of 108, and up in here through about Irving College. So about Irving College and south, and from just about Viola and Hillsboro east. So areas west of that like Manchester, New Union, Pocahontas, Beech Grove, Noah, and up towards Tullahoma and Normandy, you're clear. So the worst of that's over for you. And again, new velocity scan here, and as I said, it's still showing some pretty strong winds in here. So again, there's a 58 right there, and there's a 60. So again, that's a little off the ground, but that's still an indication that this storm is still severe on this leading edge, at least with the wind. Again, in order to have a severe thunderstorm, you have to have a wind gust of 58 miles per hour or greater, or hail that's 1 inch in size or larger. That'd be a size of a quarter. So That's something to keep in mind for severe thunderstorm criteria. You have to have at least one of those in order for it to be severe. If you don't have one of those, then it's non-severe. So it's just something that we want to keep in mind. Just also up here to the north here real quick, got some strong thunderstorms moving up down I-40 in the Cookville area, but nothing severe there. Just some rain for those of you in Smithville and Sparta, but again, the worst of it's passing to your south. And Winchester, you're kind of getting split here, at least as far as from the stronger storms are concerned. You got one that's probably going to stay just south of you, and then you got one that's staying north of you. That's the severe one. So Winchester, you are going to get some heavy rain, and the wind's probably going to get a little gusty with that gust front, but you're not looking at any kind of severe weather there, at least in Winchester and Deckard, and even Cowan to an extent, and Suwannee as well. I mean, you were in that warning earlier, but you were removed from that warning because this trended more north, and also the worst of this is also trending south and north of you. So you'll get some heavy rain and all that, but it doesn't look like, at least as of now. Now, could that change in 10, 20 minutes from now? Yeah, but at the moment, it appears you're in good shape. Up in here, here's a new scan. Again, Hillsboro's getting the heaviest part of this now. So basically from Woods Reservoir north up through Hillsboro and up towards Winton Town, so the Stevenson area as well of Coffee County, and up towards Viola, Hubbard's Cove. You're in the thick of this right now with the heavy downpours, the lightning, and the gusty winds. Again, and there's the new velocity scan, speaking of which. Again, still showing some isolated 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts there on that leading edge as it moves off to the east. Again, I do want to give a heads up also to southern Warren County. So basically around Welchland, Fall Creek Falls, and down through Cagle, and points east to Brockdale and Pikeville. This is heading your way within the next 30 minutes or so if it holds together. So if this part of the line holds together, this will be in your area within the next 30 minutes to an hour. And then this down in here is lining up. That could also be quite strong. And this is heading towards Franklin, Northern Jackson, and eventually Marion County here within the next hour or so. Next hour to hour and a half. So heads up in Marion County, you got a strong thunderstorm moving in your direction. It'll take a little bit of time to get there, but it is going to get there at some point. As I said, this is running a little bit, and I mean, as I said, just a little bit ahead of schedule. So, and it's actually a good thing that they're speeding up into 40 to 50 miles an hour because it gets it in and out of here faster. So, hopefully that will continue to be the case. And we get this in and out of here, hopefully with no problems. But again, the most intense part of this line is moving across southeastern Coffee County, so think Hillsboro and all that. We just got a new warning update there, so let me read that across. Let me get that new update real quick. Again, that warning now has been updated. Still got the tornado possible tag on it. Now at 4:35, a severe thunderstorm was located near McMinnville, just south of there, moving east at 50 miles an hour. Hazard is 60 mile an hour wind gusts and quarter size hail. Radar indicated. So those of you in Grootley, Tracy, Mont Eagle, actually Tracy and Mont Eagle, you're going to be on the south side of this. So Grootley, Altamont, Colmont, Morrison, Palmer, Beersheba, Viola, Hillsboro, Pelham, and Arnold Air Force Base. You guys are in the path of this line of thunderstorms. So that's the warning update. It remains in effect until 5 o'clock Central for Warren, Eastern Coffee, and Grundy County. So if you're in Manchester, if you're in Tullahoma, you've been officially taken out of the warning. So if you're in those areas, you've been officially taken out of the severe thunderstorm warning, so you are clear. So whatever you were doing before, you can go back to doing whatever you were doing. And just be careful out there on the roads, considering it's wet and everything. So just be careful out there. And then checking on this southern storm here, let's check and see if the wind fields have changed any down in here. And yeah, they've gotten bright, so that is an indication of the winds are trying to get a little stronger up here. Some 40 to 50 being indicated there in southeastern Lincoln County. But so far, that's been below severe levels, so that's good. So as long as it stays below severe levels, that won't be a problem. But again, there's the recent scan that just came in, and it's still holding together pretty well. I mean, it's weaker than it looked when it was over by Interstate 65 earlier this afternoon, but it's still pretty potent in here. So when you get this here from, let's say, Pelham, Colmont North, this is still going to be pretty intense here with the heavy downpours and gusty winds, but at least it's not like what it was when it was west of I-65 earlier. But up here to the north is where radar is indicating right here along the Grundy, Warren County line, so basically right over Northcutt's Cove and Tarleton Valley and Irving College. That's where it's indicating some of the strongest winds that could be on the order of 50 miles an hour, maybe up to 60 in a few pockets up in here. So this is why the warning remains in effect. So Spring Creek, this is also heading your way, as well as Curtistown. So there's Highway 8 that runs out of Cagle there, and it moves up towards McMinnville. But again, McMinnville, you're going to be on the north side of this. I know it says it's near McMinnville, but this is staying just south of you. So again, it's really Irving College and Spring Creek and south, and again, long and south of Highway 8 there is where this is going to be. But it could, this part of the line here could very well sneak into a southern Van Buren County here very soon. So think Pine Creek up towards Welchland. It might get up here towards Piney there, just south of Spencer, but again, still, I mean, either way, it'll still be a pretty strong storm either way, but just a heads up there. And in Fall Creek Falls, this will be heading your way here down the road. And also not to forget about Squatchy County, so it appears that Dunlap and North will be favored for this part of the line, the southern end of the line. So Cagle Mountain, so maybe down as far south as Fredonia, so Fredonia, Cagle, out towards Brockdale area, Palo, Lusk, Lee Station, Pikeville, Mount Crest. This is where this is heading next after it gets through Grundy, Warren, and Coffee here. So after it gets through those areas, it will go through the northern half of Squatchy County, southern half of Van Buren, and then into Bledsoe County, and eventually Ray County. So Ray County, this will also be heading your way too down the pike. Also, we got a little shower/small downpour developing here along Interstate 24 over Sweetens Cove in Marion County, moving to the northeast. We'll have to watch that carefully and see if that organizes into anything. But so far, it's just a rain shower at the moment. But I'm pointing that out because you never know. I mean, sometimes these can grow upscale. But we got a pretty stout, what's called a cap, that's blocking anything really upscale from forming. So we'll see if it stays below that cap or if it manages to break through. But so far, this is just a rain shower. It's moving north and east through western Marion County. And then down here to the south, again, this is actually weakened quite a bit down in here in northwestern Alabama right in here. So that's encouraging. And then up here and then back up here, northern Madison County, Newmarket, up towards Elora and Huntland. This is where these strong thunderstorms are at the moment, moving to the east-northeast. So Winchester and Deckard, you'll be getting rain and thunderstorm activity, but it should not be severe from the way that I'm seeing things at this time. So that's the good news for you guys. But then again, that can change. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens here. But so far, it's trending and staying below the severe threshold at this time. So again, Irving College is about to get some small hail here. Doppler radar is indicating just a little bit of maybe some peed, a penny-sized hail there over the Irving College area now at this time. So get ready to cross over Highway 56 there. So Brown Mountain, Northcutt's Cove Road, and moving up towards Harrison Ferry Mountain. So that's going to be the next area involved, as well as Spring Creek, Highway 8, Curtistown area, and eventually into southern Van Buren County. They're around the Baker Mountain Road exit and up towards the falls, Fall Creek Falls, and also the Dale community. And then down here to just a little bit south here, so from Northcutt's down through Hubbard's Cove and right down towards the northwest side of Pelham. That's going to be where this line segment is, and it's going to move towards Payne Cove and eventually right down 108 here. So this one right here is going to pretty much follow Highway 108 into Colmont, Grootley, Palmer, Altamont, Beersheba. So that's where this part is. Now, I know you're in the warning down here in Mont Eagle and Tracy, but this is not going to be an issue for you. I know you're technically warned on down there, but I can pretty much give you an all clear from this end, from this passing to your north. But you will have thunderstorms, more thunderstorms approaching from the west, so stay alert there. But down there, but at least from this severe part, this is not going to affect you down that way. So this is going to be mainly basically from Colmont north. So basically Colmont, Pelham north is where this is going to be. So again, Monteagle, Tracy, y'all are fine down that way. And in Coffee County, I can pretty much give you a clear there. So if you're in Coffee County, other than this, maybe this far southeast end down there by Betsy Willis and south of Hillsboro, give it about 5 more minutes there. But if you're in Summitville or the center of Hillsboro or up towards Pocahontas, New Union, Manchester, Beech Grove, Tullahoma area, Normandy Lake, y'all are clear. You got rain moving in behind this, but you don't have anything severe. So some good news there. Also, McMinnville's getting some heavy rain at this time, as well as Centertown. But this part of the line is non-severe. The severe part of the line is staying south of you. So again, basically Irving College to Beersheba there, right in the Tarleton Valley area. That's where this is going. Again, I just got a new. So let me check that velocity scan there again, because I noticed something there that intrigued my mind there. Yeah, definitely some intense wind there moving across that area. Now, probably a little overdone there at 63, but again, that's probably more like around 50, I would say, at the surface, but still strong nonetheless. So Tarleton, Dykes Mountain, Mount Olive, so north of Savage Gulf, basically. Jake's Mountain there, just north of the center of Cagle, Shalley up towards Hitchcock's, Old Cumberland Dill, Horseshoe Mountain. This is going to be heading your way next. And I'll go ahead and give some storm tracks as well. Give you some updated tracks here since we have that information. Now, as I said, there's technically that tornado possible tag on this, but at this moment, I'm not seeing evidence of a tornado or anything developing in this. So that's the way I'm seeing it this time. So let me update this and put this east at 50. So we'll track a few different parts of it. So we'll track this part that's moving across southern Warren County, and then we'll go to the southern end. So let's track this towards Pikeville. And I'll even get Dayton and Spring City and Decatur on here. Even 10 Mile too, so we'll get them on there in Meigs County. So Pikeville area around 518, 630 Eastern in Dayton, around 641 in Spring City, Decatur around 645 in Meigs County, and then if it holds together, 10 Mile in Meigs County around 654 for that. And there's also other communities in here in southern Van Buren, northern Squatchy, southeastern Warren counties, and western Bledsoe as well that will be impacted. So Dill, you're probably looking at probably around 5 o'clock, 5:10 there, so right around there in Brockdale Mountain. Southern Van Buren County, you'll be getting this within the next 10 minutes. So think from Piney and south, including the falls. So that'll be the areas that will be impacted by that next. And we'll track this part. I'll track this part here next. That's getting ready to move into Altamont. And again, let's get Dunlap and Pikeville in this. There we go. So again, Altamont, this will be in your area here around 4:52. So within the next 5 minutes. Within the next 10 minutes in Beersheba Springs around 4:58. Brutally around 4:59. Pikeville around 5:31. Dunlap around 5:15. Sail Creek around 6:33 p.m. Eastern there in Hamilton County. Graysville around 6:35 p.m. Eastern. Dayton around 6:40. And in Spring City around 6:54. That's for this part right here. So again, Altamont, this is pretty much on top of you almost right now. Again, it's about to be, though, very soon if it hadn't gotten there yet. And we'll see now. The interesting part of this is now we're getting ready to, as it gets out of Grundy County eventually, and also into Van Buren, after it gets out of Van Buren and Grundy, the responsibility for warnings being issued changes. So this is going to go from the Nashville Weather Service office to Morristown, and we'll see if they end up extending this as a severe thunderstorm warning, and that decision is probably going to come sometime soon. So we'll see if they either extend this as a severe thunderstorm warning or a special weather statement. Now, again, that decision should probably come down, I'd say, in about a few minutes roughly. Don't have a time frame on that, but we'll see what they do on that. We'll see what they do for Squatchy and Bledsoe here soon. Checking on Franklin County here again, since we got some new update on this. This storm is really intensified over here, moving over the Huntland area. So this is definitely a pretty gnarly looking storm. moving pretty much right into Belvedere as we speak. And it's getting ready to cross Row Gap Road here as you go up Keith Springs Mountain. So the next areas up in line will be Cowan, Sherwood, and Swanee next. And now this could potentially try to move northeast and get back up into Winchester and Deckard. That chance is there, but at least right now, as far as severe weather, that concern is very low at this time. And in Jackson County, around High Top, you'll be getting this heavy cell here that's moving over New Market here, and even the cell moving over northeast Huntsville right now. That'll be heading your way soon too. And again, I'm watching some of these individual cells also to the south to make sure they're not rotating here, because there is a small chance that some of those may try to do that. And so far, I haven't seen evidence of that. So these little cells to the south that I'm also watching here behind the scenes, so far they haven't done anything big, so that's good. And again, we'll check on this cell here. Again, the heaviest part of this storm is moving east, at least in Warren County. The heaviest part is moving east of Highway 56 now. So this little area P to Marble-sized hail is about to move over Highway 8 and up towards Harrison Ferry Mountain and Spring Creek and Curtistown. So this part of southeastern Warren County should remain alert here, but the rest of the county is in good shape. So you get west of 108, west of 56, and up towards McMinnville, you're fine. I mean, you got rain and such, but nothing severe though. And then that's going to move into southern Van Buren County here very soon. So within probably the next 5 to 10 minutes, this will be moving into southern Van Buren County. And it's moving pretty quickly. I mean, that's the good thing with this. It's passing through fairly quickly. Again, the quicker we get this in and out, the better it'll be. So that's what we're hoping for here. And now, I do also want to note here really fast that at this time I'm also broadcasting this on my YouTube channel as well, Chase Bryant Weather on there. So if you want to watch on the YouTube side as well, I got this coverage streaming on there too. So if you want to see it there, that's another outlet you can also see in addition to Facebook. Again, I do both. I do both Facebook and YouTube. So that's just something to note of. Real quick. Now we do have a new advisory here. This is what we call a special weather statement again. This is going to be for Van Buren, Southern White, Grundy, and Warren counties. Again, this is not a severe thunderstorm warning, but this is a special weather statement. So that's another encouraging sign that maybe these thunderstorms are being weak, and that's a good thing. So this special weather statement here expires in 37 minutes, so that goes into effect until 5:30. A strong thunderstorm will impact Van Buren, Warren, southeastern Coffee, Grundy, and southern White counties through 5:30 p.m. Central Time. At 4:49, Doppler radar was tracking a strong thunderstorm 10 miles north of Grootley Logger, or 12 miles southeast of McMinnville, moving east at 45 miles an hour. And I just noticed that Morristown put Squatchy and Bledsoe under the same thing, so I'll read that in just a minute. This is moving east at 45 miles an hour. Hazards are wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour and pea-sized hail. It's radar indicated. Locations that are in the path of this include McMinnville, Spencer, Grootley Logger, Tracy City, Mont Eagle, Altamont, Colmont, Morrison, Palmer, Beersheba Springs, Viola, Virgin Falls, Fall Creek Falls, Pelham, and Fiery Gizzard. So that's that significant weather advisory that goes in effect for Van Buren, Warren, southeastern Coffee, Grundy, and southern White counties. Now, it doesn't include Sparta. Sparta, you're north of this, but it does include areas south of you and down into Warren, Van Buren, and Grundy. And here's the other one that just got issued. This is for Squatchy and Bledsoe. At 4:50, it says strong thunderstorms will impact northwestern Squatchy and western Bledsoe counties through 5:30. So this also goes into effect until 5:30. At 4:50, Doppler radar was tracking strong thunderstorms along a line extending from 11 miles southeast of McMinnville to 7 miles west of Grootley. This is moving east at 45 miles an hour as well. Again, same hazards, wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour and pea-sized hail. Locations in the path of this include Pikeville, Dunlap, Paleo, Mount Crest, Cagle, Old Cumberland, and Fall Creek Falls. So those are the areas that are in the path of that. So we got 6 we actually have 7 different counties now under special weather statements, and if you add Franklin, Lincoln, and Jackson, that's 10. So yeah, we got 10 different counties here that are under special weather statements, not warnings. Again, this warning here still remains in effect for another 8 minutes, but this one's just going to expire here, I think, right at time. So right at 5 o'clock, this orange polygon / yellow polygon is going to go away. So again, the good news is, as I've been previously thinking here, if you remember me talking about it during the live and even this morning on my post, that I had a feeling that this is going to weaken some as this moves to the east, and that's what we are seeing. So that's some very encouraging news that it's following through with that and not getting too crazy. So that's a wonderful sign there. So, and we want it to be weak, so that's a good thing. They're pretty hefty storms now, don't get me wrong, but they're at least starting to behave a little better. Now, Spencer, you're going to be on the north side of this. So you're going to be on the north side of this heavy end, but you're still going to get some heavy downpours, some lightning, some gusty wind there. But the worst of this is going to stay just south of you. So basically from about Piney and Fall Creek Falls south to Cagle and Fredonia. Fredonia is also in this. And the cookie jar there in Dunlap's on the southeastern end of this advisory area. So that's going to be where this goes to. So you'll get this part that's coming out of Grundy. And then over here, basically along East Valley Road and Highway 127 and west there in the Pikeville, Lee Station, Lusk, and Paleo areas, you're also involved in this advisory. And then Brockdale Mountain, this is moving into your area pretty much right now, about within the next 20 to 30 minutes. Mount Crest, Cold Spring, Melvine, get ready. This is also moving into your area. And we got a pretty stout gust front also extending out from this. That's moving into Tracy, Colmont, down through Mont Eagle and Swanee right now. This is actually a pretty good gust front here I'm drawing out. And you can kind of tell right in here. So this is the gust front I'm talking about right here. And that's doing us a big favor in cutting off the inflow for these storms to try to rotate. And the good thing here is I'm not seeing rotation entities behind this because the outflow is running out ahead of it. So this is actually looking very identical to what we had just the other night, where we had the outflow running out ahead of the thunderstorms, and therefore what that was doing was cutting off the inflow needed to try to get storms to go more, to try to turn tornadic. Instead of doing that, it weakened them and cut off the inflow that was needed to get those storms to get more upscale. So that's the good news. So the gust front is doing a lot of us a favor here, especially from Grootley and south. I mean, it's really doing a lot of people a lot of favors here and cutting off the inflow needed. I mean, the storms are still getting strong behind this because they're elevated, but there is pretty much zero, practically zero. Anytime you get behind this gust front here, any storms behind this, there is practically zero threat of anything rotating. Along and east, very low as well, but it's not zero. Along and east, it can still happen. But I'm still getting some pretty strong wind in here showing. Again, a little overestimated here, I think, but it's showing some 68s in here, but I think that's overdone. As I said, probably about 40 to 50 at the surface. Again, remember, the farther out you go from the radar site, the higher the beam. So the higher it's going up. So it's getting wind samples here several thousand feet up, so it's really not well to be trusted there at that range. So, but this is still a good, pretty strong indication of strong wind here moving across Highway 8 and 111. So where that intersection is out there on top of the mountain there. So there's Old State Highway 111 as you go right around the Van Buren County line. There's Hitchcock's, there's Old Cumberland, Dill, Brockdale Mountain area. This is where this is going to be heading next. So let's actually time that out here. I'll put this on reflectivity so I can get you a better storm track. And the good thing here is we'll actually get all the communities on here for Bledsoe at least. So this is moving east at 45 miles an hour. And we'll keep it at 50 here just in case it were to speed up a little bit. So we'll put most of Bledsoe in this path line here. Again, locations in the path here, at least as far as impact timing, around 5:10 in Dill, around 5:17 in Lee Station, around 5:22 in Pikeville, around 5:25 in New Harmony, around 5:26 in Cold Spring, Summer City around 5:26, and Liberty Hill in Ray County around 6:32. That's for this part of the line here, you see. And again, Winchester, you guys are getting some pretty good thunderstorm activity, and Deckard as well, but the good thing is you have nothing to worry about there. That one is a non-severe storm. It's a strong one, but it's non-severe. So let me get you an estimated path on that one too. And it's moving east at about the same speed. So they're all moving about 45 to 50. So let's just assume that. So we'll put a path on this too, just so we can get you guys out ahead of this a heads up. So we'll track it from here. And again, we'll get Whitwell in this too, as far as like the Pathfinder here. So we'll look at here, Cowan there around 5:04, so very soon. Swanee around 5:10. Now you're already getting some rain in Swanee. This is the heaviest part of this cell. 5:13 for Midway, 5:17 or so in Mont Eagle, around 5:24 in Tracy. Now you'll get this part first, but the heaviest out here to the west over Winchester will get to you around 5:24. And then down here towards Griffith Creek, around 5:30 to 5:36, 5:37 in Whitwell, and then 5:43 in Suck Creek. So that's for this cell that's moving out of Franklin County. So it's moving right over Winchester as we speak. So it just crossed Road Gap Road, and it's moving into Cowan. And then down here to the south, real quick, again, this is going to be moving at about the same speed. So it's going to be moving east at about 50. So we'll track this and draw it out. And we'll put Chad in this as well, just to give you a time frame for those of you coming home from work and such. Again, around 5:30 for Orem, around 5:36 for Bridgeport and South Pittsburgh, around 5:39 in Kimball, 5:42 for Jasper, 5:45 for Little Squatchy, 5:50 for Whiteside, Lookout around 7 o'clock Eastern, Chattanooga around 7:03, that's downtown, east side will be a little bit later, 7:05 Eastern for Rossville, 7:06 in Red Bank and Walden, and then 7:07 for Fordo and East Ridge. That's for this part of the line here. And that advisory has been allowed to expire. And now that severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire as well. So at the moment, and I don't want to jinx it, at the moment, we do not have any warnings in effect at this time. So as of 5 o'clock, on Wednesday, March 11th, we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings in effect anymore. We do, however, have several advisories that are in effect for gusty winds and heavy downpours. Now, I do want to make sure, though, real quick, because I'm seeing an interesting shape up here. You see this little notch up here in southern Van Buren County. Let's make sure that's not, make sure that's not spinning. It's trying, but it's mostly, but I'll tell you, it's putting down some strong wind, though. About 40 to 50 miles an hour at least. So definitely producing strong wind, but it would not surprise me if that were to broadly rotate, because it is trying. Again, that elevation may be playing a factor there. So yeah, there's definitely some kind of broad rotation here where you got this red and you got this green here. It's not very strong, but it's something worth noting that up aloft in the clouds, there's probably a little bit of broad rotation in that. So this is something that you folks in Bledsoe County might want to watch here closely. And we'll hang around here just to make sure this doesn't surprise us with something. But at least right now, this is more of a strong wind indication, 40 to 50 miles an hour. However, I can't rule out the small possibility that it might try to produce a small spin up here out of the blue here. So we'll have to. I'm going to watch that carefully here for a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't do that. And then hopefully it doesn't, but I'll watch it. But checking out some of the other areas here real quick. We don't have any other advisories down in here. These have been allowed to expire. So Franklin and Jackson, for at least the moment, you don't have any advisories down there anymore because these thunderstorms have fallen well below severe storm levels. And I'll be honest, they've fallen well below even strong storm criteria. Again, we're still getting some 30s and some 40s down in here as far as wind gusts are concerned there along the Franklin-Jackson County line, but nothing really that screams anything significant, thankfully, up that way. So, and then down here to the south real quick, There's some more storms forming there southwest of the Huntsville area that are moving northeast. Now, these down here may affect our southern areas here with time. So this may actually come up and we might get some merging or something. So we'll have to watch that carefully here later. But at the moment, this up in here is the only area that has any kind of advisory or anything like that at this time. So again, here's the newest velocity scan. I'll tell you, the wind is really cranked up on this thing. Again, a little overdone, I would say, at least on that. I don't think it's that high, but it's still producing some very strong wind there. So definitely a very strong downburst, I would say, that's crossing Highway 111 there right at the Squatchy Van Buren County line. So there's probably some there may be some trees that get knocked down because of that wind. So there's at least some strong downburst wind happening there right along Highway 111 and just north of Highway 8 there. So right near the Squatchy Van Buren County line, and that's moving towards Dill. So Hitchcock's, Dill, Horseshoe Mountain, Griffith, Lee Station, Brockdale area, and then eventually Pikeville. This is going to be where it heads next. So I'll track the leading edge of that and give kind of a estimated time for the wind part of this. So I'll track it from basically the heaviest part, which is about right here, and see what time frame this gets over in here. So again, this is for Bledsoe County here that I'm watching. Dill around 511, Lee Station around 518, around 523 for Pikeville, around 526 for New Harmony, Cold Spring and Summer City around 527, and Liberty Hill there just north of Dayton and Ray County around 633. That's for this area that's showing some a very strong wind. And again, it could be, and I'll check storm relative again, there may be some broad, I said, very broad rotation here, very broad. The good thing here, as long as the red and green stay separate, see how far separated they are, that's a good sign. At least on the tornadic end. At least it's not coming together. So as long as it stays separate, it'll just be strong wind. This could, as I said, but this is definitely a strong downburst signature. I can tell you that much. So definitely some very intense wind here potentially. Moving across Highway 111 there, south of Spencer. So we put a mileage on that. Just tell you how far south that is. That's about 10 miles south of 10 to 15 miles south of Spencer there. So again, very strong downbursting winds there moving into western Bledsoe County from Fall Creek Falls south, Mount Crest south to Lee Station and Brockdale Mountain, and it's going to head towards Pikeville here within the next 20 to 30 minutes. And then down in here, just regular green colors. Again, that's just indicating gusty wind. I know Mont Eagle's getting some heavy rain now. Tracy City, you're getting in this. Now, this is separate from the line segment that's passing to your north. So this is separate from that. So you're getting the other part of the storms that were out towards Winchester and Deckard and all that. So now that's moving into your area. So a little sooner than the times I projected there earlier. So again, Tracy City, you're getting in on some heavy rain here very soon. At Mont Eagle, it's already pouring just based on Doppler radar. Grutley, you're getting in on this activity soon. Colmont, you're about to get in on it very shortly. They're along Highway 56. And Cowan's getting hammered pretty good with a big downpour. And then that's going to head up towards Swanee within about 5 minutes or so. And then Huntland, some torrential rain there. Keith Springs Mountain torrential rain. And this little line you see right here, this little squiggly line to the east of this, that's the gust front. So as long as that gust front keeps running out ahead of these thunderstorms, it'll continue choking them off, and that's something we want because that means it'll keep them on the behave side for the most part. So again, the heaviest part of this line is still up in here. So crossing over 111 south of downtown Spencer. Again, very strong indication of a downburst right here. And again, a downburst is those strong straight line winds that we typically see in thunderstorms where that wind goes down from the cloud and then it spreads out. And when it spreads out like that, that can cause tree damage, and some power outages and such. So that's just something to keep in mind here as that thunderstorm moves across the southern end of the county into western Bledsoe here very soon. Now, Squatchy, you're pretty much out of the woods on the heaviest part of this. I mean, the wind's going to be gusty down there in Cagle and Fredonia, but and you'll get some really heavy rain. But the worst of it is passing to your north. And again, there's also a rain shower over Crossroads in Whitwell, but that's non-severe at the moment, and there's really nothing behind this. So that's the good thing here, is once we get behind this line, there is nothing out here other than just rain. So what you see out here towards Nashville and points west, this is just rain. So nothing to worry about on that end of the stick. So let's see here. I've not heard if they're going to expand that watch yet. I'll double check the SPC discussion here behind the scenes, and I'll leave radar up here so you can follow where the thunderstorms are. Let me see if they're going to put out any indication of a watch. Let's see here. They are saying there's a 40% chance of a watch being issued, so it's unlikely. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. And I'll read the statement here. Strong to locally severe thunderstorms will be possible across portions of southeastern Kentucky into eastern Tennessee. Severe thunderstorm watch issuance is possible downstream of the current watch. Strong to, again here, it says loosely organized clusters of thunderstorms across portions of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee are expected to persist a little while longer into the evening hours. Despite relatively low mid-level CAPE, evident, well-mixed boundary layer profiles and strong deep layer vertical shear will support a threat for damaging straight-line winds, particularly with any bowing segments or strong thunderstorm outflows. Given the decreasing buoyancy with eastern extent, expectation is that convective activity should begin to diminish, in other words weaken, later in the evening, but will pose a severe threat for at least the next few hours. So that weakening trend is still expected, but for at least the next few hours, there could be some locally, at least some isolated pockets here of some locally strong downburst winds. In other words, straight line wind, gusty wind. So again, there is a possibility, in other words, that parts of East Tennessee could get put in a severe thunderstorm watch depending on what this line does. So far it's trended weak, so it's unlikely that it'll be extended. But at the moment, and then that's at the moment. That could change down the road, but right now, at least it's trending weak. But back here to the current situation here, in western Bledsoe County now, you are getting the strongest part of this thunderstorm, producing those strong downburst winds. Don't think it's rotating anymore because it does seem that the outflow is starting to win the battle on this. So that's a good sign, but it's still producing some strong wind nonetheless. So heading up towards the Griffith area, so Old Cumberland, Dill, Lee Station, Pikeville, West End, Tip Top, Mount Crest, and up towards Cold Spring. This is heading in your direction here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So heads up for you. Again, Tracy City's getting a really big thunderstorm right now here on the northwest side of town. Again, non-severe, but Klaus Hill Road area up towards Shatterkill, Hobbs Hill, you're getting some torrential rain. Mont Eagle's been getting it here for the last several minutes and still is. Heaviest part of this cell is moved out of Cowan, but it's heading up the mountain towards Swanee, so get ready for some more heavy rain in Swanee. And then down in here, northwestern Jackson County, you're getting some heavy rain, and that's heading towards High Top and Skyline. So Bridgeport and Stevenson, you'll be getting in on this activity soon too. And in Huntland, you're on the back side of this cell. So Huntland, you're getting ready to get out of the clear, at least on this one. So you're going to be in the clear here very soon from this thunderstorm. But there will be more rain that follows behind this. So at least as far as the rain goes behind this, we won't be out of the woods on that just yet. But as far as the severe threat's concerned, it's only with this line as it moves off to the east. So the heaviest part of this cell is getting ready to cross over Road Gap Road there, just north of High Top here very shortly. So get ready for that in that area. And that's going to head towards Sherwood, Anderson, and if this holds together, this heavy cell will be in Marion County within the next half hour. Again, more thunderstorms also lining up, starting to come together a little bit. They're south of Huntsville, down through Moulton and out to the Mississippi line. So we're starting to get some merging down in here. So this may become one solid broken line here as this moves off to the east. Again, just got a new scan here of radar here just as I was looking at those areas. Again, no evidence of any real rotation, thankfully. This is just some strong wind, as you see here, evident by this bright red and this pink, magenta kind of color as it moves towards the Pikeville area and eventually towards Dayton. So Dayton, get ready. This is heading your way next after it gets through with Bledsoe and in northern Sequatchie County. And in Marion County, get ready for heavy rain and thunderstorms within the next 30 minutes to an hour. Again, non-severe, but you're going to get some good soaking rain and a few rumbles, and the wind may get a little gusty ahead of that, but it shouldn't be a big deal for Marion County, or really for Hamilton County either. So don't think this is going to be a big deal for Northwest Georgia, and don't really think it's going to be a big deal for East Tennessee either. So that's some good news there, at least at the moment. If there were to be any kind of severe activity, at least right now, I believe it'd be somewhere in this area. So this would be somewhere up in here. It'd be from this cell right here. So if there were to be any kind of like severe thunderstorm warning that were to occur, at least right now, it would be up in here. So that would be Bledsoe, Ray, Meigs, Northern McMinn, Northern Monroe, Loudoun, Roane, that area, those counties. Again, if that were to re-strengthen. So far it hasn't, but if it were to re-strengthen, then this might get upgraded here down the road. But so far, no signs yet of the watch being extended farther east. But I also have some good news to report, that the watch has been canceled for a couple of you at least for a few of you. Let me get you that information here. The watch has been canceled for DeKalb County, Tennessee, Cannon County, Moore County, and Lincoln County. So those areas have been cleared from the severe thunderstorm watch. And I'll be honest, I'm betting that Coffee County and Warren County are going to be next to be cleared. So that you guys will probably get cleared of that officially here very soon. Don't know when, but you guys should be cleared from the watch itself. Now you're already all clear from the severe threat, in my opinion. But as far as the watch, you should get cleared of that by the NWS/SPC here, probably within the next hour, I would say. And then most of North Alabama has also been cleared from the severe thunderstorm watch. So those areas of northwest Alabama that were in it, other than Madison and Morgan counties, the rest of that area has been canceled as far as the severe thunderstorm watch. So some more encouraging news out of that. So, and if you notice this red up in here at the very top right, that's a tornado warning way up to our north, up in Pennsylvania. So that's not going to impact us. So that's a good thing there. So that red you see, that's not for us. So checking on this new scan that just came in. Again, this still has a pretty good bow feature to it. That's moving into the Pikeville area, pretty much moving right down the mountain. You kind of see where it bows out right there. So that's an indication of strong wind. Again, 40 miles an hour probably, I would say, would be the wind gust in that. So probably around 40 along this leading edge and with this. So it's going to be loud, and you're definitely going to hear it as it moves overhead. But thankfully, it is a non-severe storm, and we don't have any circulation or anything. So we don't have any rotation aloft or anything like that. It's just one solid area of west to east gusty wind moving across the region, and that's the same thing down in here across western Jackson County and other areas too. So anything that's behind this gust front basically is not going to be anything of worry. That's the good thing. As long as it stays behind the gust front, we don't have anything to worry about, and that's the good news with that side of things. So let's give I'll give an updated track here for those of you in northeast Alabama here. This is going to be for, I'm going to put this for Jackson County, or at least this track. So we'll put this to the east, and I'll put Trenton and Day County in here. So the latest movement here, so here's the latest timing for you guys. So high top, this will be in your area around 526 is for this cell right here. Around 542 for Stevenson, 551 for Bridgeport. Probably a little sooner than 553 for South Pitt, so probably about 5-10 minutes early than that, considering you got another cell up to the north heading your way. And in Shiloh there on Sand Mountain around 558. Trenton, Georgia there in Day County around 705, so get ready for this in the Trenton area. And then White's within about an hour or so, and then Whiteside in Marion County around 606 Central Time. So that's for this part of the line. And we'll track this as well, moving out of Tracy City, and we'll get Soddy and Sale Creek and even Dunlap on this if I can, if it lets me. It won't let me on here, but nonetheless, 526 for Griffith Creek, so around the pocket, Griffith Creek area there around 526. Soddy around 650, and around 6:57 in Sail Creek. Again, notice here as you go from Central Time, it changes into Eastern Time, which is why I'm using this, because it actually shows the exact times, like the estimated times of arrival, and it shows the difference in Central and Eastern Time. So that's a pretty good way to look at it there. Again, that's estimated time, so again, that could easily change there at the last minute. Again, Pikeville, you're about to be under this heavy sail that was severe warned earlier, but thankfully has since expired, so I'm going to go ahead and track that here real quick. That's moving east at 45, but again, as you see here, I got it at 50, so that way we give some extra heads up here. So let me do that here real fast. And that's moving out here towards Sweetwater as well. So again, Pikeville around 523, 645 for Spring City, 657 for 10 Mile, and 711 for Sweetwater. That's for this northern edge. Now, if this does track a little bit east-northeast, it might actually avoid a lot of Monroe County and stay north, and it may avoid a good bit of McMinn County and likely stay north of Athens. But again, this heavy segment here is moving to the east-northeast. So that's the situation with that. And again, just a quick overview here. We got strong thunderstorms here extending from about Jamestown in Fentress County all the way down through Sparta, Crossville, east of Spencer now, so you're good there. McMinnville, you're clear. Grundy, you're good. Franklin, you're good. Coffee, you're good. And more thunderstorms also exist into Bledsoe and northern Squatchy counties, just north of Dunlap there around Cagle and Fredonia, extending up towards Brockdale and moving into Pikeville as we speak. And in western Jackson County, starting to get in on some rain and thunderstorms, but these are non-severe at this time. And then that continues all the way back to about the Mississippi border. So the good thing here is that since, like I said, we don't have any kind of severe thunderstorm warnings at this time. And again, I'll double check to make sure we don't have any other rotational things or anything like that trying to pop. And so far, I'm not seeing that, just some gusty wind signatures. So with that said here, considering we don't have any severe thunderstorms and we don't have anything concerning at this time, as of this very minute here, 5:20 on Wednesday, March the 11th, so I made sure to reference the date in there in case Facebook's algorithm tries to push this out, several days from now, but I hope it doesn't, but just in case, I want to make sure this is dated. So with that said here, for now, I'm signing off of here since we don't have any warnings or anything threatening impacting us right now other than just some regular heavy rain, a few strong storms mixed in with gusty winds. That's it for now. If we do get any additional warnings, I will pop back on here with any additional warnings that we get, and we'll go live from there and stay on until, again, the threat ends and or if the warning expires. So that's my promise to you, and I will fulfill that. All right, guys, have a good, safe evening, and stay tuned for further updates, and I'll be back with more updates here soon, at least in written form.